If you want to trade like a rebel, you got to come to RebelCon 2022. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas, at the fabulous Four Seasons Resort. It will be more fun and more live trading than we've ever done before. That's why it's called RebelCon 2022. We're going to have barbecues and double the amount of live trading. The guest speakers, as soon as we announce those, this thing's going to be sold out, limited to 250 people. Sign up now for RebelCon 2022 at the Four Seasons in Dallas, Texas.
Welcome to the rebellion.
Here we go on this Thursday morning. And again, the market's obviously always kind of wild and a little bit crazy, even though it's summertime, which used to be the time where we'd be a little bit quieter. Not the case since the pandemic, and certainly a lot of activity involved in the markets themselves. Matter of fact, I'm going to jump right to that. Volume, 43 million yesterday. Now, that's a nice big number. Now, we've been talking about the ups and downs of volumes, and we've had a pretty nice swing to the upside with a little blip here or there, but 43 million, that's above the year-to-date average. So a very, very busy day yesterday. Why was that? Well, the market started off strong, triple-digit gains for both the NASDAQ and the Dow, and they just continued and accelerated all the way into the close. As a matter of fact, Dow finishing up well over 400 points to the upside, nearly a 1.5% move to the upside, a monstrous move. But you look over at the NASDAQ, that was extraordinary, up over 300 points yesterday. It accelerated right into the close and finished up nearly 3%, 2.7% on that move to the upside. Just unbelievable and something we haven't seen for a while. We started off the day with crude at 96. We had a little bit of a pullback. We finished the day closer into those 90s, but holding on to 90, at least yesterday. Nat gas up there, still been kind of on this rise again, a little path to the upside after that huge jump and then the sell-off, and now starting to move back up again. Finished the day right around 8.25. The 2-year and the 10-year, not a whole lot to say there other than the 2 years were above 3 yesterday, along with the 10-year, which was down there at 2.7. So we still kind of hold in that sort of the distance between the two of them, but a little bit of a rally from off of where they were. Bitcoin, 23,300 yesterday. That was something because it's been holding decent. It's sort of almost found a little bit of a range, call it 22,000, 24,000. 24,000 right now, tough to get through that level. 22,000 has held with a little bit of a bounce here and there. Here we are now right there, smack dab in the middle with volatility trading just underneath 22 yesterday. Yes, it was down about 8% yesterday for the VIX. Now, what were some of the biggest leadership? Well, technology absolutely just stood out along with consumer discretion, but a lot of the same names contributing there. But I look over at tech up nearly 3%. It was Apple, it was Amazon, it was Tesla, it was Meta. Take a look at the move from Amazon over the last several weeks, and it's been pretty extraordinary. Obviously, earnings were in the midst of that and a big catalyst for that. But just take a look at that one because that's one of the names that I talked about on television back on the halftime report like a month or so ago. And we talked about those splits, and when stocks splits, the outperformance oftentimes that you get from those kind of stocks and more volatility. Oh, and for all those haters out there who don't really understand the mechanics of what's going on when they're talking about these splits, don't really mean anything, doesn't change anything. It gives people an opportunity. And when you get that opportunity, it also gives you an opportunity in the options world. That's just a little bit of housekeeping in terms of what happens a lot of the time, particularly when you've got these massive type splits. And now something that everybody is looking at, but not everybody could trade, now becomes much more tradable. That does change a bit of the dynamic, despite the fact that, yes, it's the same, this, that, and the other, but it's really not. So just to clarify that. So consumer discretion up about 2.5% yesterday. Tesla, Amazon, definitely the two big contributors to that. We've got financials up pretty strong. It's Goldman, it's Wells Fargo, it's Bank of America that were leading on that move to the upside. Industrials, take a look at 3M and Boeing yesterday. A little bit of a lift. It was up about 1% for the industrials, but you can understand why the markets were moving the way they were, except for the fact that energy was a drag. If it wasn't for energy, if energy had been having a little bit more strength to the upside, even half as much, boy, that move would have been unbelievable yesterday, but it was not. And there was pressure from Energy, Conoco, Chevron, Exxon, Oxy, all those names, the beta names, as well as the big guys, all dragging the markets at least down to some degree off of what could have been a monstrous day. And I think it was Energy really just kind of holding us back. Strength. Where else was strength? We had it from Disney. We had it from Salesforce. We had it from Microsoft. I mentioned Boeing already. We had it from Moderna, PayPal, DocuSign, Ross Stores, which had been under some pressure. All of those contributing to that move to the upside. The draggers yesterday, yeah, I mentioned Chevron, but you also have Walmart, you have Match, you have AMD, you have Solar Edge. All of those were on the pulling side, trying to pull the markets down a little bit, not very successful. But we move now into today. Very quiet as we get into today. We've got earnings, of course. Earnings season continues to roll on, but it seemed very eerie and a little bit quiet. We were up about 25 points on the Dow, up about 25 points on the NASDAQ. We have slipped since that started. Since we opened, we were down 50. Last I looked coming in here, a little over an hour into the day, we were down about 100 points for the Dow. Not huge, but giving back a little bit. Let's see how much we do give back. This is only the first hour. NASDAQ, it started off the day pretty positive, up about 40, 50 points, started to slide. Last I looked, it was down about 10 points. So keeping an eye on that. You've got crude that started the day at 91, pulled back and underneath 90 at 89. That's something that I think definitely stands out. Nat gas, though, it was heading up to the upside. It was now today, it got up to 840, eased back a little bit towards the $8.15, still hanging around above that 8 and a little bit of that bounce that we've been seeing. We're seeing a little bit of a bounce in volatility. Nothing huge, but last I looked, we were looking at the VIX trading right around 2250, and that's off of that lows where we were down there into the 21s. The 2-year, 10-year, as I said, the 2-year a little over 3. You got the 10-year just about 2.7, somewhere close to that. You've got the VIX and the VXN volatility index for the NASDAQ. That's trading below 28. So that might start to lift up a little bit if we see a little bit more pressure coming onto the NASDAQ. We'll see how that plays out. Early on, energy was down about 2.5%. That got cut and now down about 1.5%, but a little bit of a slide. Probably the biggest area of slide, communications. That was started out positive, nearly 0.5% to the upside. Last I looked, it was down a little bit more to 0.25% to the downside. So a little bit of a flip there. One of those names that's flipped was BABA. Now, BABA had a pretty nice bounce right out of the gate off of those earnings numbers, got up and above 100, then started to slide back down a little bit, just getting a little bit of a pull. So as we look into that, tech, staples, healthcare, all sliding a little bit lower. They had been relatively flat early on, but we started to see that little bit of a slide from those sectors as well. So what are some of the areas that stand out in terms of in positive territory? Where is some of the strength in the market? EPAM Systems is one of them. Came out last night, and it's an IT play. It's up about 10%. You have Dish, you've got MGM in the casino area, of course. Obviously, just keep an eye on that name. Tesla, Netflix, AMD, Meta, Visa, Home Depot, all of those names positive. Then you look over at AMD. We had that unusual option activity we talked about right here yesterday on the tape. They bought 40,000 of the upside calls. Well, AMD didn't perform yesterday, but it sure did today. Up over 100 early on today in the session. Always have to have discipline in the back of your mind for any of those folks that are actually dipping into the unusual options. By the way, we talked about how short-lived those are going to be. They expire tomorrow. You've got to be in front of the computers and reacting to this type of thing. You've got Match bouncing a little bit off of a big sell-off yesterday. You have DXC Technology pulling on the markets a little bit. Ball Corp pulling on the markets, as well as those beta energy names. We talk about those a lot. Haven't as much lately, not as much to talk about of late, but they are definitely dragging. That's where you're seeing energy, at least early on, why it was getting pulled so far. When you look to where crude was, APA, I look at Marathon Oil, I look at Occidental, some of the biggies that were pulling on the markets, along with Lucid, along with Fortinet, eBay, throw in Chevron, you understand what's going on. Energy, definitely one of the big pulls on that market early on. So got two unusuals. We're out of here, but make sure you got to tune in today. John and I have a great time, 1 p.m. Eastern, Rebels Edge. We show it up there on, you got to go to YouTube, then go to Market Rebellion, then put in Rebels Edge, and you get a chance to watch live. It'll be on at noon today, Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern. We're going to cover 4 big topics. We're going to give you each an unusual option activity. Then we're going to talk a little bit of sports, and you can probably imagine what we'll be talking about today. If you have any feel for who John and I are as our former sports lives, that's maybe a clue for what we'll be discussing today. A lot going on. As a matter of fact, the business of sports as well will probably be a big topic. So ARRY Biopharma, that one, ARRY. We don't talk about this name very often. It does hit occasionally. Stock was trading underneath 17. We had a buyer of 3,000 of the September 17 and a half calls. Those are going for about $2. Part of that trade is also attached to the fact that they're rolling up from September 15th, taking money off the table. We've talked about this before. Anytime somebody's there on a good trade, they're taking money off the table, but they still want to be in a trade. It's always interesting, always captivating. That's exactly what's going on here, selling those September 15 calls that have already performed. Next, this one's kind of interesting. I can't quite figure it out, but we'll see. We already had Kellogg's today. They came out. The stock had a nice, big, strong move to the upside. Oftentimes, when you hit a new high, oftentimes you can see that you get another extra lift at some point in the future. Maybe that's what they're looking for here. But with the stock trading over 76, Kellogg, K, that meant 10,000 of the August 80 calls. Now, the stock hit new highs today in the upper 70s, but they're looking for the August 80 calls to kick in. They were going for about 12 cents, up to a little bit higher number than that. As the stock now has pulled back a little bit, they're probably somewhere very close to that 10 to 15 cent range. I can't see it right now, but keep an eye on Kellogg. Can it make another explosive move to the upside? Oftentimes we will see that happen. A new high oftentimes does get a little kicker at some point later on. Folks, have a great day of trading. It's going to be a wild ride. We know that already. A little bit of slippage early on. We'll see how the rest of the day pans out. I'm Pete Najarian. See you on the Rebel's Edge today at 1 p.m. Eastern.